Hello there, welcome to the final episode of the Antara Park series. A quick tour around what we've built. The last episode was kind of the final building episode, but certainly as far as the final episode to round everything off. Now I'm going to split it into two sections. We've got our live walkthrough, and I'll run you through that in just a second. And then afterwards, I want to have a quick sort of just reflect on the animal pack, because obviously we did this all for the Eurasia Animal Pack, as well as what's going to happen next with the channel. Before we do that, however, since I can't think of anything overly witty right now, look around. If today's day ends in a Y, hit the like button. And if you're in a language where Y doesn't exist, also hit the like button. Either way, hit the like button. Good. Let's jump on into the live segment. Thank you, future me. Welcome one and all to Antara Park. We're back. So yeah, a walking tour I believe is in order, and I'll narrate as we go round. What I will do in my summary of the download content, which I'll do just after this tour, I will pop some flyover cinematics of each habitat. So you'll get to see what the guest sees in this walking tour, and then afterwards we'll go back and have a look at how it looks from the sky and from a more intimate view with the animals. So starting out, we're in our car park. So we built this in one of the very first few episodes. Just harking back to what I was saying before about texture painting on the ground. I still love how this turned out. It's a nice muddy car park that no one spent any money on. So you can imagine it's going to be an absolute nightmare in the rain. We've got the back of our forest habitat sheds there. Nothing really to look at from the car park, and luckily enough, I was worried that I'd have people sort of stood on the pathway staring in from this direction, but luckily enough they don't. So they all arrive on this coach, and unfortunately we have to have the barriers here. Being a country park, you wouldn't really pay. Oh, and just like that, they're making me look an idiot by standing there looking in. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your support. So we're going to walk through, and we're going to walk our way out the car park. No health and safety involved here. Cars coming in could clearly take us out in the process. Now this building here, if you remember from the preparatory episodes, we were originally going to build a gift shop in here. And if you've been following along with the lovely Planet Zoo drama over December and into the new year, you'll know that the gift shops were pretty much broken, and they've only just been fixed, and unfortunately kind of ran out of time for me to get them in. I may come back one day. I say that, I probably won't. I already have so much more I need to do on zoos that we've already started and not finished. So the likelihood of me coming back to do that is low, but I will be putting the whole zoo on the workshop, so feel free to add it in later yourselves if you wish. We also have a little toilet block around the back there. And then we've got the entrance gate, which is clearly confusing absolutely everyone. We're just going to push our way through. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So into the park. So the idea was that the country park is very much an idea of showing off animals from this area. And the park itself is set somewhere in Central Europe. So we'll come back to the habitat on the left there. Let's have a quick look over our swan pond. Now this goes underneath the bridge in the distance there, and the original idea was that the swans would be part of the same habitat as everybody else over on the left hand side. Unfortunately, the swan access, while it worked, also meant all of our fallow deer kept jumping into the water and were unable to get out. That very quickly had to be removed. Now the swans themselves, brilliant. I mean, I will not hear a bad word about these swans. These are amazing animals, brilliant, probably the star of the pack for me. I will use them in most zoos that I create, either as a habitat animal or, for example, in our upcoming British zoo that I'll go into a little bit more detail later on in the video about, we're going to use them in the car park just as a bit of wild animals in the background. And yeah, these have done really well. Love this habitat, love how it turned out. Looks very natural, even disguising the foraging area there. I found a new way of making some water plants. So these are the hyacintheas, I believe, these here. But if you rotate them upside down, they've got this brown texture on the bottom that works really well as weeds. Oh, hello there. You just thought you'd come and say hi. Okay, cool. So over the other side here, if we bustle our way through, we have our forest edge habitat. And this currently has red deer, fallow deer, wild boar, and our Wisent in. And as you'll see in the cinematics, this is the biggest thing. It spans this whole area here, over that bridge across the top there, and into our forest habitat in the back, which was made for the deer and for the boars. The Wisent can't get over there. And this worked out really well. The Wisent, I think, are a good close second, maybe third animal in the pack for me. The wild boars possibly beating them only ever so slightly, just for the fact that we can use them everywhere. But these guys, the fur looks amazing, their animations look amazing, they're big enough that you don't need, I mean, I think there's only about 8 of them in here, so you don't need too many, but at the same time, just look at them. Just look at those animations. Oh, they're brilliant. And I'll definitely be using them in future zoos, probably in a more snowy grassland environment. Now, as we move through the park here, the speed is up a little bit. Apologies for the motion sickness that can cause. We have this little bit here. So this is also part of the swan habitat up to the waterfall there. I did try to entice them in. Oh, there is one over there. I was going to say, it's rare that they come in here. They can get in here. They don't really use the water jets, so it's part of their enrichment. But for whatever reason, I never really see them going over there to use it. And this guy's going to go over and prove me wrong, isn't he? Lovely, lovely. You have no idea how much time has been spent with a camera pointed at those water jets to get those cinematics of them using those water jets. That is a little bit irritating. But yeah, so they've got all of this. They've got this sort of riverbank here going underneath there. We're going to go up to the right and just finish off the forest habitat before we head more into the steppe area. I'm amused the fact that they're using it. I tried so hard. I tried so hard to get that onto camera. Right, so this upper area then, this was built originally for just mainly inspiration from a habitat that I had seen in the New Forest here in the UK, where there is a little wildlife sanctuary, mainly for, believe it or not, giant otters in amongst the New Forest. And within there they have some wild boars, and it's clear they've only either just got them or they don't really know what to do with them. And they've built this trailer, and they basically live in the trailer. It's a weird little habitat. I've got so many photos of it. They just had their babies. It was a brilliant little habitat, and it kind of inspired this whole section. I really like how this turned out, and they do come up here a bit. The only thing is I've not actually seen them sleep in the trailer, which is frustrating because it's big enough. I've checked all the access, but for whatever reason, they just don't want to sleep up here. So we're going to move on down now. This is also, I also like how vegetated it is. There's not really many plants. I think if you check the video, we just use brambles, nettles, and foxgloves. I can't remember what these are called, but essentially that's all it is. But it just looks really green, and I love it. Then as we come down, you've got that bridge there. Occasionally you'll see them running across. Again, I'll pop some cinematics, but quite happy how this turned out. It's a simple bridge, nothing overly complex about it, but it does the job. And it's also too small for the Wisent to get across, which was fun. What are we all staring at right now? Okay, yep, sure. What you won't have seen so far is this building. So basically, after the last episode where we built our 3 steppe habitats, I tidied up realistically. Got all the staff buildings, popped them in one of these buildings. It follows the same architecture that our front guest house does. So it is sort of just the same bricks, the same roof, etc. I had planned to do again like a big watchtower when I first planned the map out. I just never really got around to it. That's our backstage to our Sloth Bears. And if we come around here, they've got their own architectural walkway, we could probably call. This is inspired by a walkway concept art that I saw for Bristol Zoo for their new bear habitat. Never been to Bristol Zoo. It's only about a couple of hours away from me, so may actually make an effort to do so, to see if they ever actually built this. But this sort of fitted really well for our Sloth Bears, which is kind of the most zoo type habitat that we have in the entire park. There we go. They've got a bit of climbing. Again, I didn't really explain this in the Sloth Bear video, but I did originally build a whole climbing frame sort of circuit between all of these trees, and it kind of, it looked good, it worked. But it kind of dawned on me that the whole idea of this country park is that it's not meant to have a large amount of money or investment. And part of that meant stripping a lot of this back. But on our next venture, when we actually make a full-blown zoo, I'm going to go all out, and we will maybe get these sloth bears back in, because they are... Oh, nearly fell in. They're weird looking, but I have a weird sort of soft spot for them. For as weird as they are, they're kind of, I guess, more animated than, say, the Himalayan brown bear, which... it's not their fault. They were put in originally into the game, and we all know the original animals are nowhere near as good. As we come along here, this walkway also a peering into the wetland habitat for Saiga from the last episode. Really like how this turned out as well. It was a piece of not a piece of art. It was a photo actually I saw of Kazakhstan, where they had these really big flooded fields. I don't know if it's like that all the time, if it's seasonal. But the Saiga tend to sort of spend a lot of time in there, jump about, play, and obviously fight each other. And I just wanted to build it. And I really like how all that dring grass turned out. It looks like a flooded plain rather than a lake, which was my concern. So yeah, really happy with that. Now as we move through, we've got our Takin habitat. These guys, oh God, what could I say? These guys, I want to like them more than I actually do. I think is the best way of putting it. I really wanted these guys to be probably on level with the Wisent, and what I don't know how to explain it. The Wisent have better fur, they have better animations, they have better sound, there's better interaction. Like if you go back and watch the video with the Wisent and the wild boar enclosure, you'll see in the cinematics at the end the parent and child interacting. They'll sort of nudge noses at each other, and the baby will jump up and interact with its mum. These guys don't. They just don't do much. They just walk around. They climb really well. They're a bit like the Dow sheep, where they'll jump from rock to rock quite a lot, which is great. I like that. But they don't really do much else, and I think that's part of the problem. Where are you off? Okay, goodbye. So yep, the other side of our Saiga habitat here. As you can see, they've got their little hut over the back there. Really, really like that. I'm quite happy how it turned out. If you tuned in earlier this week to the live stream, my very first channel live stream, and I do intend to do a bit more, we built this, which is our rockery area. Basically, I had a large expanse of area here that I wanted to fill in, and we've built just a little walkthrough. So we'll have a walk up one side, come out the other. But yeah, it's basically just using all the plants that we've used in all of the other habitats, bringing them together, filling in the space. It felt a bit more apt to have something like this in a country park, whereas in a zoo it'd be a bit more manicured and a bit more well placed. And I have so many ideas of these little walk-through gardens that I want to do in a zoo. So I think this series is ending at a point where I'm ready to build something far more complex. It's going to take a bit longer, but I'm ready now. I've done the natural. I've done over-planted natural. Let's go back to really fine planted areas. I popped in a couple of props, just a bit of groundskeeping. Obviously, the rangers here, and they very much are more rangers than they are zookeepers, would probably spend more time mowing and keeping the trees in check than they would sort of making new enclosures, etc. Now, the Wolverine. Oh, let's have a chat about the Wolverine, shall we? I didn't put this in the last video because I didn't want to be overly negative, and I'm not overly negative about them. But this kind of highlights my point. If I hold the camera here, and okay, he's just gone behind a rock, so we'll wait till he pops his head out again. There we go. Look how small that Wolverine is in comparison to his habitat. And obviously the first thing you would think is, well, why did you build the habitat so small? I didn't. This is the minimum square meterage for 2 Wolverines, and that's not accounting for a baby. It's massive, but they're so tiny. And the areas that they come from are generally very well planted, very well rocks. There's a lot of things in there that they would hide behind and go through. And designing a habitat for these is going to be a challenge. It's something I'm going to do again. I'm going to have another bash at it in a future project. But the only thing I can either think of is having maybe a very long, very thin habitat and having them come over the top of the guests, or we just go under the space requirements, because this just seems too big, especially since they spend most of their time in the trees. So all of this ground cover is not really doing much. Now, rant over. At the end of the day, the animations are great. You know, they look great when they're moving about, and the cinematics in that last episode, they climb really well. The fur looks good. I just wish they had less requirements, and building for them in franchise is going to be even more important there, where that space requirement is needed. It's just something to think on. It's going to be a challenge, but we love a challenge. We love a challenge. So as we walk back around this way, back through our rocky sort of garden area, that's pretty much it for habitats. I don't think I've missed anybody. The one animal I didn't get in, and that's because they were due to go into the gift shop, was the tortoise exhibit. But I will be bringing them into my next project fairly early on, so I don't feel too bad leaving them out. And I kind of, it was a bit of a stretch even to bring them into the gift shop, just because it's like, well, it's a country park. Who's going out there to feed that tortoise every day? Not many people. Maybe the staff, I suppose. But it did kind of work. What I did want to do before I end off and pass back to future me is just to run through some queries and some questions and some requests that I've had as I've been filming this series and popping it up on the channel. So firstly, thank you to everybody who has engaged with the content. Really, really enjoyed it. This series so far has been my most successful series. I hope I can surpass it with the next. I have some big plans for that one. But what I have been asked for is a couple of either blueprints or for some of the individual items, or just to put the whole park up on the workshop. I'm going to do a bit of both. I'm going to separate out things like the trailer and the buildings. And for example, if we have a look at these rocky walls, I'm going to put all them up separately, because I'm going to make blueprints for myself anyway for use in future projects. I might as well put them up as well. And then I will upload the whole zoo, the whole country park on there, just for anybody that may want to go in and have a little bit look around. There's a lot of Easter eggs in here, but a lot of them I put in them for myself because this place is inspired by quite a few places that I've been, and I kind of put them in there thinking I'll find them later on and find them funny. And I've been seeing a few as I've been going around, and yeah, it's always nice to have something that just gives you a bit of a smile. But yep, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass you back to my future self, and I just want to move on to sort of my thoughts on the Eurasia download content pack, how successful it's been, and sort of how that's balanced off against a lot of the controversy going on with Planet Zoo with a lot of YouTubers right now, and also to talk about our next project. So with that said, off we go. Thank you, past me. Oh, that was a brilliant handover. Oh, I'm getting better at that. Yeah, so if you would like some things packaging separately and put onto the workshop, do let me know in the comments below, and I will get them sorted at the same time, because I know I've had a couple of requests for a few things. So how did I find the pack overall? So we'll start with the negatives. Not enough plants was a big one. I think the biggest challenge I find is not reusing the same plants over and over. And there are some clear winners throughout any sort of type of zoo. A bit like the nettles, for example. They go everywhere. And the hostas are great, but they're also not everything, are they, really? You know, they don't go everywhere. The animals, yeah, they're good. They're all right. I think I share a lot of people's opinions, where the animals are really nice. The swan's amazing. I will not hear a bad word about the swan. The Wisent, yeah, they're cool, like them. The wild boar, like them. I find the Saiga and the Takin a little bit dull. The Saiga less. The Takin are very, very dull. But the Wolverine, they're okay. They're okay. They're a little too small. So because they only live 2 in a habitat, they're a little bit small for the habitat requirement size. So anything you design, you're not always going to be able to see them. And I think that's a problem. At least with like a troop of monkeys, you can have them going everywhere. They can climb above you. And there's generally enough animals in there that they can always seem fairly active, but not so with the Wolverine. So how would I rank them out of all the other download contents? Well, it's hard, because if we compare it against the other animal packs, the North America and wetlands is definitely up there. It is definitely far more important to me than the Eurasia pack would be. And the others, like the scenery packs, well, the tropical pack is just downright amazing. Similar, I found the Oceania pack brought in a lot of good stuff. So it's hard because this didn't bring anything really to the table for design. However, it's not bad. It's not something like a, I don't know, I'm gonna annoy people here. I'm not gonna say it's not as boring as like the Australia pack was, or but there is an element there of it could have been better. And I do agree, and I do understand a lot of the prominent Planet Zoo YouTubers sort of coming out and pushing that narrative of, oh, is this the last download content pack, or could this be them wrapping up? I hope not, but if it is, I'd say it's probably not the one they want to go out on. However, to end that on a positive note, I do think that the quality of the textures, the quality of the fur, the quality of the noises, the animation rigging, everything about the new animals is by far brilliant, and they are definitely getting incredibly good at what they do. The downside is they're kind of running out of, I guess, the more distinct animals to bring that onto, and I think some re-renders or some remasters of previous animals is most definitely needed. So what's next for the channel and Planet Zoo? I'm not going anywhere. We're going to start onto a much bigger project, hopefully in the next week or two. That is going to be based on a British zoo and my experiences of various zoos around the UK. It's going to start off from a rags to riches type scenario where we're going to start with relatively no money and work our way up. It's going to be done in franchise because I much prefer working within the confines of franchise. Now, I've been putting some planning into this for a while now, so we've got enough habitats certainly to last us the year, if not longer. And as I say, that should be hopefully, fingers crossed, starting in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, I might go back and do a little bit of a recap and round off on Nimoy Bay. I am kind of hoping to spend a bit of time in the future where I go back to Nimoy Bay and rebuild a lot of what's already been built. Now that I'm a little bit more used to the whole YouTube filming setup, making those a little bit more optimized. And then we can obviously continue that series on if it proves quite popular. If you're one of the many people who've not seen Nimoy Bay, by the way, I will link just here, just for you to go have a look. I apologise in advance for the audio quality of those videos. But a little bit further afield as well, I've been considering for a while now of branching out and doing a couple more games, tycoon simulations as you will. So I am going to do a couple of one-off videos and you'll see them popping up on the channel. So if you're a fan of, let's see, what have we got down on the paperwork here? We have Project Hospital, Transport Fever 2, Satisfactory, Factorio, and quite a few more. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because they will be popping up randomly throughout the year as either one-offs or little series, just so I have a bit of a break from all the building. Now, with all that being said, hopefully you enjoyed the episode today. Hopefully you enjoyed Antara Park. Don't forget to pop down your requests for blueprints down in the comments below, and I will leave you with a couple of fading out cinematics of the park. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for making building this series absolutely amazing, and I will see you in the next video.